Help us understand how bad things were and how things look today.
Well, it's been stunning for people, Errol, to see the extent of destruction. And this is in an area of the country, a part of Texas, where they know it as Flash Flood Alley. There have been many flash floods here in the past, and even the extent of this one surprises them. It's a combination of extreme rainfall you can get with moisture moving up from the Gulf and very thin layer of topsoil. Officials here say that they rescued more than 850 people over the last 3 days, some of them from the tops of trees and others from rooftops.
Hundreds of first responders spread out across the Guadalupe River. They climbed over debris piles, searched mangled cars, and combed riverbanks that floodwaters scoured. Torrential rain caused one river to surge nearly 26 feet in just 45 minutes early Friday morning.
We're at Camp Mystic looking for our kids.
Children's summer camps dot the shoreline of the Guadalupe. At Camp Mystic, an all-girls summer camp, the river started running through cabins where children were sleeping. Nearly a dozen 3rd and 4th grade girls are still missing.
We're looking for places that they're going to potentially be alive.
Further down the river, the flooding ripped through homes and campgrounds where families were staying for the holiday weekend.
We're still hoping for the best, but that's all we can do in that and pray.
Brian Blackbird came to the house his family owned, looking for signs of his sister and brother-in-law, Beth and Hutch Bryan. They had friends staying with them. Only one escaped.
He said he and Martha made their way fighting the current around the house, and that's when she got swept away.
Amid the heartbreak, incredible stories of survival.
All of a sudden we just hear somebody say, "Help, help."
Sisters Natalie and Emily Rayford said they spent 20 minutes trying to pinpoint those screams. Then they said an 8-year-old girl who had floated 6 miles from Camp Mystic appeared from a pile of debris.
Did you ask her what had happened, how she was able to make it?
Yeah, we asked her what happened, and she said that her cabin was flooding and someone opened a window and she just flew out of it.
The sudden rush of water reached this RV park, packed with campers.
Everybody on the level where the water is in right now, they were barely getting out with their pajamas on and their dogs. And their
Lorena Guillen said in the rush to wake people up, they could only watch helplessly as one family was swept away.
Just hearing those kids screaming, it was very, very difficult.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott said no one anticipated the severity of the storm.
The moment in time when they knew the magnitude of the water, it's a difficult decision whether or not to begin evacuating people or not.
We welcome you back to CBS Mornings as we continue our coverage of these devastating flash floods in Central Texas. We are so thankful that 2 young boys are here today to talk about how they made it out of that area safely. Their 9-year-old Braden Davis and his 7-year-old brother Brock. They were attending Camp La Junta, that's near the Guadalupe River, when the raging floodwaters started to spread. Brock and Braden are at home in Houston. They're there with their mom. You see them there, Kelly Raybon. Kelly, Brock, and Braden, thank you guys for joining us this morning. This story is so heartbreaking. It's so good to hear a little bit of good news. Kelly, why don't you start us off? When did you realize there was a problem and that your sons were in danger? How'd you get the news?
So early that morning, I received a text from the camp that said that they'd flooded overnight, but everyone was okay, but they were out of power and cell service, and so stand by for more information. It was several hours later when we got another update that it just started to sound worse. And, meanwhile, I start searching as to seeing what's going on in the hill country, and it was far worse than I would have ever imagined. So, as a mama bear, immediately, I'm like, I got to get in the car and go.
And I got to get there. Braden, as we all see, things were not okay. Take us to the moment when you realized you were in trouble. What was it like for you there?
Well, for me, the whole time, I didn't really know what was going on until people came into our cabin and the director, Scott, he told us that there was a flood, but to be honest, I didn't really know what was going on.
Wow. So Braden, there wasn't water in the cabin? Water never came into the cabin?
Not for me, but Brock, that's a whole nother story.
Brock, do you want to tell them about?
Brock,
Yeah.
Tell us what you saw and what you heard, because Braden said there was no water in the cabin. Clearly, you two weren't together. Tell us what was happening in your cabin.
When I woke up, I turned my flashlight on, and I think I saw water outside, and then we had to get on the rafters, and then a wall fall, and then my door flew away.
Brock, that
Yeah.
must have been very scary, Brock.
Was it scary?
No.
Oh, he had to climb from initially the bottom bunk to then the top bunk and then ultimately to the rafters to try to avoid the water. And at least as a mom, that sounds quite terrifying. I think he's still processing.
I know, Kelly. It's so interesting because I'm scared just listening to him. He goes, nope, it wasn't scary. Kelly, what can you tell us about? Go ahead.
He just graduated kindergarten, and so for an adult, I feel like that's terrifying. They had only been at camp for one full day at that point, so he didn't even know his cabin mates' names.
I did.
So yeah, it was definitely terrifying, and then couple that with being in the dark, I can't even imagine.
I know. Braden, were you frightened, Braden? What were you and your friends saying while all this was going on?
Well, when they were saying cabin 6 was in the middle of the flood, I was like, that's crazy, because my little brother was in that cabin, and I guess, Mom, I keep hearing on the news the river rose 26 feet, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's basically just flat ground. So imagine just water coming there, and the current is just rushing and rushing, and you have no idea what's going on. So I just imagined it for Brock. To be honest, I was more worried about Brock than myself.
Oh, I love that's what a big brother does. I love hearing that. Kelly, take us to what it was like for you, how you were reunited with your sons. How did that happen?
So, it wasn't until about 8 p.m. when we were reunited, and thankfully they were able to bring the boys to a church in Kerrville. But during the day, we're talking about a ton of boys in the heat with no power, and ultimately there was a National Guard drop with supplies at the camp. But we weren't getting very much information at all. So again, it was just super terrifying not knowing, but seeing them, I've never felt such a sense of joy and relief, while also bittersweet sadness.
Yes.
Because at that point, I'd already heard about what was going on at some of the other places. And so, it's almost like you have this sense of survivor's guilt, because you feel so much joy to see your children, but you still know that so many people are hurting and desperately looking for theirs.
I know, Kelly. I keep thinking about that too. And Mother Nature is no joke, and she reminds us time and time again. And I'm wondering, I would imagine you'll all hold each other extra tight today. But what is your bottom line message to the people who are watching this story? What do you want us to know?
Well, I think we're grateful for everyone's interest in this story, and I think we just need more prayers. Please just embrace this entire, there are kids from around the country that go to these camps, and so many are really hurting right now, and so we just ask that the entire country just really wrap us in your love and your prayers.
Yes, we can do that. As parents who send our kids to camp, we can all relate to this story on some level. Kelly, Ray Bond, we thank you. Braden and Brock, we're glad you guys are okay. Thank you guys for taking time with us this morning. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Well, joining me live now is Maria and Felipe Tapia, who both survived the flooding. Maria, I want to start with you. You were the first to actually wake up Friday morning to find that your house was flooding. Can you walk us through what you saw and how you were able to get out?
Well, kind of the lightning and noisy, rain kind of don't let me really sleep. And I started hearing little noises in my window, like kind of like little taps from maybe a little rocks or something. And then after that, I started hear like bubbling noise from water. And then I kind of like catch my attention, and so when I wake up, so when I put my feet in the floor, there was already about my ankles. So I was, I got so scared. So I called my husband. My husband was sound asleep, and I was telling Felipe, we're underwater. Look at the water is so high. So he was sound asleep. So he was kind of disoriented. He said, what is it? What is it? I said, no, I don't know where it comes from. So I went to the bathroom and I can see everything. The water was from the toilet and under those walls. So, it was kind of like rushing, scared, because I can see it was rising the water real quick. So the only thing we can do is just put something on there. And then I put some kind of leggings and put my shoes, and I told him we need to get out. Okay, by the time we go into the living room, we walk to the living room, which is, my house is not too big. It was already, the water was, I say,
to the belly, all the way up to the belly.
We got, so it was kind of, we got the water up to the belly.
Wow.
And then the door was stuck when we tried to pull, open it. It was stuck. It was scary. Yeah. Because the water was in my mind, we're gonna die here. And my husband, Felipe, tries to real hard to pull the door. He opens it, and when it opens, all the water come on, from the outside. So, and then there was another door, which was the screen door. So he pulled it and kicked it, and I don't know what he did, and he broke it. He broke the screen door, so we got out. I was kind of, at that time, it was the water rushing higher. So he just pulled me from my hand, and then we got out. And then, after that, we tried to get in one of our cars, and I noticed the water was rising quick, and I was, no, Felipe, let's go outside of the car because we're going to get stuck in here. The water is not going to let us to get out of the car. Right. So we did run to our neighbor, which is in front of that house. It was a neighbor. They have light and everything. And when we get out, as soon as we get out of the house, I can hear those, those windows cracking, popping, because the water.
Did you have to swim to your neighbor's house, or were you able to actually get there on foot?
No. And that part of my house is kind of deep. Mm-hmm. So that's why we have the water up to the chest. Mm-hmm. But when we got kind of 3 steps out with our car, ¿cómo se llama? Donde parqueamos las trocas. When we have our trucks parking, it was a little higher. So after we noticed that it was going to be rising the water, we ran to our neighbor.
Did you have any kind of warning? Did you have any kind of alert on your cell phone? Any kind of alarm going off alerting to you?
Yes, in the cell phone, we have an alert, but we always do. We always do these alerts in the cell phones, and it was kind of like, it wasn't like this, So we kind of get, how do you say, confident? Yeah. We got confident because they're not it's going to be maybe flooding, but not this much on the water. In the 24 years of we living there, we never had this.
Never seen anything like it.
No, not even close to this. No.
So what's next for both of you?
Well, right now, it's all over. And we just thankful to God, that we're alive. Right now we're with our daughter because our house is completely destroyed. They took our house and everything inside. They took our 2 trucks. My husband and I have a car and he has his truck. I mean, I have I have an Armada, truck, and he has
Well, we're thankful that both of you got out safely. Thankfully that you are alive today, but I know some of your neighbors were not so lucky. But thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you very much for sending about that.
Survivors are waiting and hoping to reunite with their loved ones, but some fear their family members will never be found.
It's what, day 2, day 3? We don't know. We genuinely don't know. As much as we want to pray and hope, there's only so much a human can actually hold on to river waters. The cars are flipped over and the houses are moved. What chance does human have?
As rescue workers do comb through the debris, Janet Shamlian has been hearing some truly remarkable stories of survival. She is in Kerrville this morning. Janet, good morning to you.
Maurice, good morning to you. Despite the tremendous loss of life here, there are stories of resilience and compassion. Neighbors braving rising water to help each other, and those first responders working tirelessly to reach those in danger.
The tragedy that claimed so many lives on the 4th of July was almost 300 miles away. But at a vigil in Houston Monday night, the sadness was close to home. Camp Mystic alum Lauren Hamner has a daughter who summers there too, and said music is central to the community.
I'm hearing reports of the counselors leading the girls in song and prayer at the height of the floodwaters inside buildings and at the base of trees on a hill while lightning and storms raged. Lord have mercy, they understood the assignment.
And you could hear the singing of Mystic campers even as survivors evacuated Friday. A chorus of hymns as they passed over rushing water. Now, across the region, people are cleaning up, starting over.
The water started, it was up here.
Robin Bates left her house in the community of Sandy Creek as the floodwaters rose. When she returned, she says 2 houses had crashed into hers.
Kitchen was demolished.
In the city of Burnett, Dottie Bai woke to chest-high water. With her sense of humor intact, she recalled her neighbor's house, stripped from its foundation, floating into hers.
You know, if they wanted to come visit me, I would invite them over. They didn't have to come that way.
And here in Kerrville, Ricky Ray Robertson says he survived because he was watching baseball across the street from his own cabin, which was swept away by the storm.
Houston Astros and Jesus Christ saved my life.
The Houston Astros will take that one as a win. The volunteer effort here, the kindness is remarkable. And many times it's nothing formally organized. People clearing debris from someone's home that they don't know or simply offering a meal.
Authorities continued their rescue and recovery missions in central Texas today as the death toll from last week's catastrophic flooding now surpasses 100 people. CBS News Texas reporter Bo Evans spoke to several survivors in Kerrville, including 2 sisters who were reunited with their family after their summer camp was evacuated.
This was our paradise, but now it's all gone. I mean, it's gone. It's just, there's nothing left.
Nothing left. The RV park Lorena Gian owns with her husband in Kerrville was wiped away in less than an hour.
Within 20 minutes after that water had come all the way up here, it was all the way over there where the patio is. I mean, that is a 500-year-old flood.
RVs are quite literally wrapped around trees. A kayak hangs 20 feet in the air. Cars buried under rocks and mud.
It was just incredible, the force of nature of that moment.
People swept away.
Just here with me, I have 6 people missing that we don't know their whereabouts, that family of 5, that I'm praying that somebody gonna rescue them down below.
Across town, hundreds of family members waited anxiously to be reunited with the girls from Camp Waldemar.
As reports came in that we saw the image of the Camp La Junta cabin floating downstream, and started hearing about a cabin at Camp Mystic that floated downstream. It was an emotional day.
Rob Sell and his wife drove down from Fort Worth and were there when the buses arrived with their daughters.
There's a little hole that you could see through my window because I was on the top bunk, and I looked down and I saw water.
So when I slept, I heard like this loud thunder, and it was silent, but I knew I don't want to be worried, so I just thought that God was with me and that I can sleep the night.
Can you tell me what that first hug felt like when you got them back in your arms?
I had to wait a minute for them to hug their mom first. I'm kind of chopped liver, but ultimately when I did get the hugs, they were really sweet.
A really sweet moment on an incredibly hard day.
The only thing that is going through my mind right now is like, what now? How are we gonna move forward? I mean, who is gonna, help with this?
In Kerrville, Bo Evans, CBS News, Texas.
Now, earlier today, I spoke to a woman who was camping with her family just 1 mile away from the deadly Guadalupe River floods when they found themselves in the path of disaster. Lucretia Bates said she noticed the river rising and decided to evacuate despite no alerts or warnings.
There were other people still trying to go tubing down the river that morning as we were packing up, and it was pouring.
Even though the river had risen that much and people were being told, you know what, it might be time to go, there were others that were getting in tubes to ride the river down.
Yes. And I just couldn't believe it. And so, I just thought to myself, and I began to kind of look up, what had happened. And that's when I found out that, it was very catastrophic. As we were checking out, my husband told the office, like, hey, we're checking out. We were supposed to stay an extra night. He said, we're gonna go. And so she said, okay, we're thinking about evacuating. I was just kind of like, wow. But, by the time we got to the gas station to gas up, we heard the sirens go off.